Well, I'm the old man in the hunting team of Hunting with Cannons, and today I want to welcome you to my trophy room and tell you a few stories about some of these hunts. I've been doing taxidermy work since I was about 16 years old, and I'm now 75, so you can do the math. So what you're about to see today is a lifetime collection of hunting experiences, and I've put trophies on the wall, but every trophy that's on the wall is also in my heart. Stay tuned, because at the end of this little tour of my trophy room, we've got a surprise buck that we've got hanging on the wall now. You'll want to stay tuned to hear about this trophy 205 gross score Boone and Crockett non-typical buck. With all of these trophies that are hanging on the wall after about 60 years of hunting, all started in 1964 with my first buck killed in southwest Arkansas. Little 8-point, killed with a double-aught buckshot out of a Sweet 16 Browning A5. With this buck, a passion began in my life for hunting white-tailed deer and other trophy animals around the world. The oldest buck I have hanging on the wall right now is a buck 11-point that was killed in West Texas in 1982. So that's a little over 40 years ago, and this is the 11-point buck that was done back then. In addition to the shoulder mounts we'll be looking at, a lot of deer were not mounted, but were done in the European style, bleached skulls, and so I have a number of these on this wall. Bobcat rug that I took about 10 years ago on our farm in Arkansas. You're going to also see some Indian necklaces I've made over the year with hog tusk and turkey spurs and various other trinkets that I've added to them. Well, the lineup of white-tailed deer on this wall were taken either on our farm, family farm in Arkansas, or private ranch in West Texas. Except this one deer right here is a Canadian buck taken in Saskatchewan. It's probably the largest bodied whitetail I've ever shot. He was only a 7-point, but as you can see, his horns are massive, and the deer was absolutely huge. I killed him on a snowy day in Saskatchewan, Canada. I want to talk a little bit about this nice 10-point that was taken in Arkansas a few years back. Early one morning, right as daylight broke, this buck came walking under my tree stand within about 20 yards, and with my 243 I was able to take him. But I really liked this particular mount, this particular style. He was a very healthy buck, probably 4 or 5 year old buck. Never had seen him before, but he showed up opening weekend and was able to harvest this deer. Well, it was a cold, sleety day back in 2005. And I had gone to our farm in Arkansas to do some varmint calling after deer season. And I looked up the hill, and here came this giant boar hog. And so he came on down the hill running through some high grass, and he came by me. Now, he was not charging me, but he came running by looking for whatever was making that call, and I was able to take him at 10 yards with my little 243. So you don't have to have a big gun to kill a big hog. It's all a matter of bullet placement. And I shot him and rolled him like a cottontail rabbit. Well, I'm standing here behind my mountain man chair. That's an old side chair that's covered with different skins: bobcat, fox, some raccoon, a deer hide, black buck hide, and that brings me to what I call my black wall. This black wall is filled with various animals: antelope from New Mexico, actually warthog from Africa, and of course the feature here is the black buck antelope that was taken in West Texas, and a couple of European mounts of the black buck antelope as well. This black bear was taken in Idaho. It wasn't just a huge bear, but he was the last day bear on the 6th day of a bear hunt in the Bitterroot Wilderness, and I was really thrilled to be able to take this black bear. Over the years, I've also enjoyed doing bleached skulls, and here's a sample of my skull collection. What we have in here are some feral hogs, 2 or 3 black bear, and I guess the feature would be this Alaskan Kodiak brown bear, and there's a coyote in here, and a beaver, bobcat, and a javelina skull. I've enjoyed doing this work and saving these specimens for folks to admire. Well, obviously, over the years, I've been able to put together quite a collection of taxidermy work and trophy mounts for my trophy room. And it all started back in 1964 when, at the age of 16, my father and I took a correspondence course in taxidermy work. And other than that, it's been kind of a self-taught art. And it all started with this squirrel mount in 1964, which I did for a biology project in my sophomore year in high school, and I did a demonstration on how to mount a squirrel, and I made an A on it. And from that time forward, I've been laying hands on a lot of different animals from A to Z. My grandson Cannon took a Pope and Young buck this year, his first buck with a bow, and from that hide, not only did I mount the buck shoulder mount for him, but I made this quiver from the back hide. And this is all tanned deer hide, a little turkey feather in to boot, some hog teeth, and some beaver teeth and beads for a little bit of decoration. In addition to the quiver from the leftover shoulder hide, I was able to put together hand stitch this possibles bag. And if you're a black powder hunter, or if you're into Native American art and things of the nature that they would have used, you know what a possible bag is. It contained anything possible that you might need while you were hunting. This black bear was taken on Prince of Wales Island in Alaska. I think the year was 2001. Shot it with a 7mm mag up on the side of a mountain about 150, 200 yards. Skinned it on the mountain, brought the hide home. Most of what you've seen in my trophy room are works that I've done over the years, but this is one mount that I trusted a good friend of mine to do, and I think he did a wonderful job of presenting this life-size mount on my Alaskan black bear. One of the things I've enjoyed hunting in Texas is some of the exotics from around the world that are now in the Lone Star State. I showed you a black buck antelope a moment ago. I've taken several of those. And also these mouflon or Corsican rams. Some people even refer to this one in the middle as a Texas doll because it's solid white. But the other two are Corsican rams that I've taken through the years. One with a bow, this with a black powder rifle, and other weapons that I've used in hunting Texas exotics. This is an ibex taken down in the hill country of Texas. This is the same goat that you read about in the Old Testament in the Bible, the ibex of the mountains in the wilderness of, in the wilderness. Another exotic in the state of Texas is the Sika deer. This one was also taken in West Texas several years ago. Very good representative of a Sika stag. Well, you've probably noticed that my main trophy room is in a two-car garage, and we have left the garage now and we've moved into the house, and we'll talk about the A-team. These are the ones that my wife allowed me to put in the house. In the background, you'll notice on that wall, the centerpiece is a Quebec caribou. I have a couple of those that were killed on a 3-day hunt several years ago in northern Quebec. On the right is a 10-point, actually 12-point Canadian buck that I shot some years ago in Saskatchewan. The deer on the left is my largest whitetail buck, killed on my 80-acre farm in Arkansas in 2004 on the opening day of muzzleloader season. He gross scored 166 Boone and Crockett, a 10-point frame with split brow tines, making him a 12-point buck. Well, since I just told you about my largest buck of all times, the one taken on my Arkansas farm in 2004, let me introduce you to old Big Boy, my largest Texas buck, taken in 2019 on a private ranch here in North Texas, and he grossed 162 Boone and Crockett. On either side of my Texas buck are two pronghorn antelope. The one on the left was taken in New Mexico, and the one on the right was taken in Texas, and it too made the big game awards in Texas for the year that it was taken. Well, on the fireplace wall, we have a second caribou that was taken. I really thought this was a beautiful animal. He was solid white, which is kind of unusual. And then here in the middle is the skull of a 2,000-pound bison bull taken in northern Nebraska, close to the Missouri River on the Lewis and Clark Trail. My trophy aoudad ram from West Texas hanging on the wall here. He was a beautiful ram. After several days of hunting out in the hill country and the Edward Plateau area of West Texas, was able to harvest this beautiful Barbary sheep, also known as the aoudad ram. 30-inch horns made him a sure enough trophy. My latest Texas trophy whitetail, beautiful 10-point buck, was taken in 2022 here in North Texas. He was probably the largest body whitetail I've killed in Texas. I would say he probably topped the scales at right at 200 pounds. Several years ago on a short trip in South Africa where I was speaking on some lectureships there, I was able to do a one-day safari, and on that safari, that one-day trip on a big ranch near Pietermaritzburg, South Africa, I was able to harvest a beautiful ram impala and about a 400-pound zebra. This zebra rug has graced my walls since 1982. This is my study at home. Got several things in here that are some great mementos of hunts in the past. As a matter of fact, I think nearly everything in this room was all taken in Texas. Here's a 10-point buck, another one of my large Texas bucks that scored in the 150s, 155 or so. Rattled this buck up, shot him at 10 yards. He nearly ran over me. Have another whitetail taken out in West Texas, beautiful 9-point buck. Shot him one morning as he came into a water trough, and the watering hole was frozen over and he was breaking the ice with his antlers. I watched him for a while and decided he was a keeper. And so 5 minutes after the opening morning in West Texas, this buck went home with me in the back of the truck. This other buck's an 8-point deer. And one year on the ranch, several of us who hunted there, we decided we'd hunt cowboy style. And so we all made a commitment that we would try to shoot our deer with lever action Winchesters. Also rattled this buck up. I found in West Texas, with the high density of the deer population, the bucks responded well during the rut to rattling antlers, and I rattled this buck up in the rain and took him with my Winchester 94 30-30. The other trophy I'm really happy about in this room was killed here in North Texas on a ranch in the river bottoms. And it was a beautiful big feral hog that I took late one evening right at dark. He's only one of 2 or 3 that I've actually mounted over the years. I mentioned that Dad and I took a correspondence course back in the 60s to learn how to do the basics of taxidermy work, and Dad really enjoyed working with feathers. I preferred fur myself, and neither one of us were very good with fins. And so those are the 3 elements you deal with in taxidermy work: fur, fins, and feathers. Dad liked to mount ducks, and this is a beautiful wood duck that Dad took years ago. Dad's been gone 23 years now, but I have some of his handiwork in my study here in the house. Beautiful wood duck drake. Also a pheasant that my father shot in South Dakota probably 40 years ago, and I'm glad to know that Dad's handiwork brought this pheasant back to life in a flying pose. The last thing my dad did for me was a pheasant that we killed over on the Red River on a one-day hunt. These were pen-raised pheasants that we set out and hunted with our bird dogs, and that was in 1998. We had a great hunt that day. I have a picture of my dad holding this bird, and he said, "Son, I'm going to mount this pheasant for you as a gift." and he did, and I'm pleased that it reminds me of my father every time I look at it. Another memento of my dad and the years and time we spent in the woods hunting white-tailed deer on our Arkansas farm is the last buck my dad took in 1989. Dad loved to hunt with his Winchester Model 12, and he shot most of his deer with double-aught buckshot. Close shots, tight woods, and this 8-point buck is the last buck my dad took. Well, what you're looking at now is the real trophy in my trophy room. Gross score 215-inch non-typical buck, 22 points. I'd like to tell you that I harvested this deer. I do know this. God created this whitetail buck, and those of us who love to hunt whitetail, we recognize that God knew what he was doing when he made the whitetail deer. God created this buck, but I helped to recreate him. I secured these non-typical antlers not long ago, and since I'm about 75 to 76 years old, I've decided that I'm probably not going to kill a 200-inch buck in my lifetime. So I decided I'd just create one for myself. My grandson Sam shot a nice big old Texas buck last year, 8-point buck, and when the buck fell, I said, Sam, I need the cape off of that deer to put with my non-typical rack, and he said, Big Daddy, that cape is all yours. And a few months later, with the help of a good friend of mine, was able to place this buck on the wall, and he is a real looker. It's obvious that the deer was of some age, and I'm proud to have him in my trophy room. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to go on this tour of my trophy room. Hunting with Cannons is a great YouTube channel that my grandson Cannon and others have put together. We're fortunate to hunt some beautiful places and have some great adventures. What I've showed you today represents a lifetime of hunting and the satisfaction of being able to properly care for these trophies over the years and bring them home and do the work on them and make mounts and various ways of displaying the animals that God has blessed us with down through the years. Thank you so much for watching.